Good afternoon, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of Kiko's Freethinkers Forum. We are joined by a very special guest, a repeat guest. He's a good friend of mine too. His name is Ben Sedaghatfar, and he's based in Los Angeles, California. As I understand, he has a company named Popana, and it's a U.S. manufacturer of apparels. And we're going to talk about his business some to start out the conversation. He earned a degree in business and finance at the University of Indiana at Bloomington, and he was featured in episode 3 of Kiko's Free Thinkers Forum. He's back to talk to us today about a plethora of issues: U.S. China, artificial intelligence, the economy. We're going to talk about maybe this upcoming political cycle in 2024, just a variety of topics of interest to the people. And I just want to say welcome back to the show, my friend, and thanks for accepting the invitation.
Well, hi, Kiko. I'm excited to be back.
Yeah, you called me by my real name. Not just teasing.
Yeah, I remember from last time. So no, I'm excited to be back. You know, it's this is also fun for me because it's hard to get to talk about these things with even like some friends because one, they're not into it, or they don't think about this stuff, and you know, the conversations are a little bit less meaningful in terms because they're just casual conversations, and I'm not really into just doing that. It's sort of a waste of time because we keep having the same conversations all the time over and over. So this is better because then, you know, it's relevant to our lives, how it's going to affect us. And these are the things that I think we should all be thinking about, because it's not only, I don't know if it's as much as going to affect us, but it's definitely going to have an impact in our children's future. And the one thing that we need to think of in total is that what we're leaving for our children. What kind of world are we going to leave for our children? And if we can see it's going in a negative direction, we better damn try our best to try to change that, to put it in a towards a positive direction, and not leave them. And you know, the last thing you want is like your kids will come up to you when you're old and say, why the hell why didn't you do anything? Right? You could have done something, but we didn't because we were just too either self-absorbed, or we didn't pay attention, or we were fearful, and we just didn't think about what comes after us, because all we cared about was just us and right now, what I need now, and not about how is this going to affect the future and the world that we're going to leave for our children. That's where I'm in life right now, you know. So that's why I listen to a lot of these different things and perspectives and ideas and the things that are happening around us. I pay a lot more attention to it now, and you know, I'm trying to do my best. So when that day comes, I'm going to say, you know, I tried, and not that, you know, for whatever it is. So
see, you already got my head spinning because I'm curious about the comment you made starting out the introduction when you said that how do you determine what's meaningful or not? When you say that these conversations aren't meaningful to the people, do you know, like, what makes it not meaningful? When you say that you just keep bringing the same thing up again, do you not think that those people get it? Do you feel like
they're just it's not part of their consciousness. It's just not part of their everyday reality, because I can't blame them. That's the thing. You can't blame, because you know, a lot of I mean, myself included, I'm busy. I got 3 kids. I'm kind, you know, right now, you know, the economy nobody knows what's happening. So our sales are down. Things are more expensive. Things are changing. You got bills to pay. I've been, you know, stressed out about how we're gonna handle, you know, manage all the changes, right? So you don't have time because you're just so busy, you know, under like a pressure cooker, trying to make now work. All right. So whether it's paying bills, spending time with kids, work, there's so many things happening around us, and then you have the news that just feeding you a bunch of nonsense at the same time that gives you even more anxiety, and like just all the different things that you're just bombarded with, and it's constantly changing, right? The news cycle is just da, 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 and like you, like as soon as you try to get a hang of one thing, then it changes, and then it's like a new thing.
Just a hamster wheel.
Right. It's it just keeps going nonstop. So you can't catch your breath to try to even think, because you're just, so you either at some point just say, forget about the news, you just kind of tune that out, and you just kind of let it go because it's too much, and you just don't pay attention. You're just kind of do your own thing, and you just move forward. Or it can drive you crazy from trying to keep so many things in your head and like just being bombarded all the time. So yeah, going back, I don't blame anybody for not doing that. It's just because it's not part of their reality. But I try to bring it up, and I would talk about it. And sometimes it's also difficult because when someone doesn't know something about something, they don't want to, it's hard for people to say, I don't know, let's talk about it so I can, maybe find out. Or they'll just change the subject because they don't want to feel bad that they don't know something.
I see what you're saying.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's just human nature. So I've learned, the one thing I've learned, sorry for that, I've learned to let go of blame. Because once you understand, like I said, people are busy, everybody's just trying to deal, then you can't say, hey man, you're just dumb, or you're stupid, or you just don't know. It's not true. Everybody has a purpose, and everybody's doing the best they can. So I don't lay blame for anyone. I just try to bring the conversation, and if they're interested, we'll talk about it. And the next time I see them, I'm like, oh man, you said this, I looked it up, and we'll have a conversation, and things over time become more meaningful, I guess. So that's what I've been mainly my approach to life recently. Not recently, but just for a while now.
Yes, and it's funny. I think about something. This is maybe not warranted of a response from you. I was thinking about before we even got on our first call back in the summer. We talked about 10 minutes about stuff off camera, and it's crazy because that's kind of how we got to this place in the first place. Just we basically had two people that are really just concerned about the future and the immediate, like, present. But I think most people have these same concerns, these immediate concerns, but they don't have the tools, or they don't feel like they have the tools to verbalize it to other people because they're afraid that it may not correspond with what their view is. And we had that conversation, and I think due to those insecurities, I think it was good for both of us to have that initial conversation, even on camera, but even before we got on camera, when we had those phone conversations leading up to the interview. And I think it's important for the audience to really, Benny kind of pushes this point that we're probably going to need each other more in the near future ever, because
absolutely
we can't just keep continuing this same cycle of just like rinse, repeat, and just do it all over. We can't keep doing this. Like there has to be some kind of a principled dialogue. Even if we have these ideological differences, there has to be something that keeps us binded.
Yeah, I mean, all these ideological things, we got to let it go, because it's, at the end of the day, we're still all human. We feel the same feelings. We have we feel sad the same way. We feel happy the same way. We laugh the same way. So we're all the same. It's just our differences are taught to us, and it's not us. You know what I'm saying? So like it's like Republicans and Democrats. Right now, nobody can talk. But I don't want to get into the whole Republican versus Democrats, far right versus
Oh yeah, yeah.
far
And I
left,
wasn't
because
even referring to that. I was
right, no, no, I know,
it's really just any topic. Really, you can take
right,
any topic, and we found a way to just polarize it. Just
yeah,
anything, like
exactly,
regardless of how intellectually stimulating it
yeah,
is, it's just
and like,
it's a really reflection
yeah,
of
and like
society.
you said, even the people who, and I've noticed, because when I meet random people with friends, I already know them because we've known each other for a long time. But with random people, everyone's hesitant about how they feel and what they think about certain things because they don't know how you're going to respond, right? And so, like, in our first podcast that we had, I started talking about Kabbalah and all these other things. If you don't have like a certain background, if you don't know, this stuff sounds crazy, right? It just
Mhm.
sounds, you're like, you're nuts, all right? You know, like, what are you talking about? But you have to know, if you've done this, the research or the thing long enough, or the experiences, if those experiences are real, then you have something. Just because other people don't connect with it, don't understand it, doesn't mean it's relevant. And it's a lonely place, to be honest, to be in those situations, uh because you have all these things that are just like, blowing your mind, and everybody's like, dude, go take a Prozac or something, you're because it doesn't make sense to them, but that's okay. um so
I
go
had
ahead.
a question for you, because we're going to talk a little bit about your business, Popana,
Yeah.
and what that's about. But I'm curious, just from your standpoint, being a business owner, I feel like I don't hear a lot of perspectives from business owners themselves. I want to get your perspective on what are the difficulties of managing like a bunch of people, and how many people do you manage, and does being in the state of California, how does that progress or impede your business, I guess, endeavors as far as like what you're trying to do with your company? Are there laws that kind of prohibit you from doing what you could do to make it an even better business?
Yeah, California is sorry, I'm gonna fix this so I can. I'm looking at myself in the camera, and I'm like looking in a different direction. I'm not as professional as you. Okay, here.
No, you're good.
uh I think the most difficult thing as a business owner dealing with people that you manage is that they think it's all, you're making all the money, and you're being stingy, and that you're doing these things and try to give people less. But in reality, they don't see all the just the day-to-day things that you have to deal with and you manage personally, financially. Because at the end of the day, those people are, at least as a business owner, especially in a situation where right now, that you know, they know their paycheck is coming at the end of the week or a month or whatever it is, but they don't realize that what it takes for me. It doesn't matter whether I'm losing money or making money at the end of the day. That that I still have to pay. They're getting paid. I may not get paid, and I have to manage all of that. I know it's my business. I chose to do it. I think that's the biggest misunderstanding, is that especially when things get tougher, people are under stress. Um, so that's the main thing. Because
Mm.
my first thing is to make sure that these guys have enough work, and they're getting paid. You know, I know there are people who don't care about their employees, or they just there are people like that, but there's also a lot of people who really care. Because if it wasn't for these employees, or if they're not here, then my business is not here either, right? So
Hmm.
there's a balance to that. So they have to be happy in order for you to be able to grow and expand. And I think a lot of that tension comes when there's a downturn. A lot of people think that you're doing this, you know, if you're not getting a bonus, it's because the CEO is trying to take more for himself, you know, and not give any to you. But they're just trying to save the business, because if they don't take those necessary steps, then they have to let go of everybody and close the business, right? I think that's the biggest misunderstanding. They don't see that, they don't see the other side. It's always the grass is greener on the side. They see me sitting in my office, you know, all day. I'm sitting behind a computer, you know, I'm on the phone, but you know, I'm managing 10 different things, making sure we have enough cash for next week to pay everyone, how I'm going to pay my vendor for the fabric we just got, you know. So there's a lot of that, I think.
You said off camera that you're one of the very few companies that manufactures everything in the United States. You say you have Popana's an apparel company. Like, can you expand on that to the audience and kind of tell us more details about Popana?
All right. So there is still there's a lot, I mean, not a lot compared to like China or outside of the US. There's still a decent amount of apparel manufacturing is happening in the US, but that's been like declining very rapidly. In California, it's just more, it's become a lot more difficult because of some of the rules and regulations they put in place that shipped a lot of those jobs to Mexico, not even China, going to Mexico because of the distance, or to Texas, you know, right over the border. They, you know, put in a truck, go over the border, do all the work, bring it back and send it. A lot of these, and it has to do with like labor laws, you know, that they've done, and how they made it easy for, you know, this can go both ways. I guess it just depends on who you're talking to. That, you know, if you get a complaint because, I don't know, you can go make up any excuse. My boss yelled at me, right? Then the labor commission comes, and if they find your label at the factory or the label of the company you're working with, then they can come after you and they can fine you. So a lot of these chain stores like Ross or DD's or JC Penney or TJ Maxx, they don't buy made in USA products anymore because of that. They only buy made in China or made in Mexico because they don't want to deal with that kind of stuff. So that's one thing. But the what we were talking about before we started the meeting was that on Amazon, selling on Amazon, there's a lot of websites that people say, you know, they're selling that their stuff is made in USA, and it is. However, for the price points that we're talking about on Amazon, we're competing with the Chinese at those prices. So there is let's say a company called Reformation, you can look them up. There's a few of these guys, but the pants that, you know, sells on Amazon, a Chinese company sells it for $35 or $40. These guys are selling it for $125 on their website, right? So my point was specifically to Amazon. And we can go on Amazon and we can, like, I'll show you. But so what I do, what we sell direct in, so what my company does, we manufacture women's basic apparel, and we sell them directly to the end user through Amazon. So we don't wholesale. I don't sell to retail stores. We sell on our own website, which is popana.com, and we sell on Amazon. And on Amazon, we are one of the handful of apparel companies that are making their products in the United States. But the vast majority of that is dominated by Chinese companies selling Chinese goods, not even American companies importing Chinese goods and selling it, but it's Chinese companies selling Chinese products. You want to see it?
Sure, absolutely.
Let's do a screen share.
I think my audience would love that. So is everything made in that warehouse that you're in right there?
Yeah, we cut and sew everything. I vertically integrated the whole process, and that's how we're able to get a lot of that savings. And since everything is happening in one place, we've basically trimmed all the middleman and trimmed all the fat from the process. So we're very lean, so we can produce stuff, in a matter of days versus months, or importing from China, or like 3 or 4 weeks going to Mexico. We can do something in, a couple of days. So we're in those terms, we're a lot more dynamic, and we can turn around faster. We can deal with smaller quantities, and just managing cash flow better.
And you said that the Popana is mainly women's clothes?
It's women's clothing.
Okay.
I'll show you. We're gonna go through, and then I'll give you you gotta enable the screen sharing.
Okay.
This is host disabled screen sharing.
Is it what was I about to say? Share screen. Let's see, where did I go?
It says host disabled participant screen sharing. So maybe it's in the settings.
Yeah, I'm going now. It says share screen. When I share directly, show all sharing options. Let me go to advanced. Screen sharing, disable this option if other meeting or webinar participants notice that the content of your share screen does not display correctly for them. I think I have it on here. You said it says disabled on your end for me?
Yeah, it says host disabled participant screen sharing. So you just said allow screen sharing.
Okay, let me
enable screen sharing.
see. Yeah, I'm not familiar with this stuff. It says share applications. It's got share individual window, and it has share all windows from the application as the options.
But screen share, if you say share screen on the bottom, what does that say? Is there anything that gives you option to allow for screen share?
Yeah, I'm looking. Let's see. Share screen.
If it doesn't allow? Okay, if it's not a big deal. Okay, but
it says you're screen sharing, but that's
okay,
for
you're
me.
screen sharing, but let me see if I can share a screen.
Yeah, you should be able to share.
No, it's not. I see your screen, but not mine. Anyways.
Do you have that option on yours where it says in between the chat and the pause?
Yeah, in the chat, the screen share, but when I click on it, it says host disabled participant screen share.
Oh, wait, hold up. I can see it. I got it now, buddy.
Oh.
Now you should be able to do it.
There we go.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Kiko. I'm so bad at technology. But I found,
all right. So can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. What do you? I need to know what you're seeing. Are you seeing
the Hound, the Popana, Jessica?
Okay, yeah. Okay. So this is our product right here. This is my product for $35. And so this is, let's here, summer maxi dress casual, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you go through here, if you look, this company right here is a Chinese company. This is a Chinese company. These are all Chinese companies. Same guy, Chinese. This is probably a high-end clothing, but $269.
How do you know it's Chinese just because you have the inside info?
No, it's just I can tell by the name. The names, like what's IZZZH?
I see what you're
Right?
saying.
Like you can go and you can check. You just go there.
Is that
You know,
not an individual though? You said that that's a company.
this is a brand. This is the
Oh
brand. You see, it
wow, I
says
see what you're saying. Your
shipped
brand. Yeah.
and sold by IZZH. So you can go there. And right
Mhm.
here, you go down, and this is the company
Oh,
selling
I see.
like Shenzhen Shi
Yep.
Afu, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
Right, the address is even in Chinese.
Yep.
Um, let's see. Let's go down. This is probably an American company, but this garment is made in China. Chinese, Chinese. These are all Chinese. All
Mm.
Chinese. All Chinese. All Chinese. These are all Chinese. All Chinese
Wow.
companies. These are all. This is Amazon. This is made in probably Vietnam or Thailand or something. Chinese, Chinese.
Why is there such a heavy Chinese presence? Is it because the materials, the cost of them? Like, what is that about?
Cost because it's cheap. But and some of these stuff are even like the garments are also very cheap. That's what people don't realize. The way they're made, the fabric, everything. Here, like let's talk about a skirt, maxi skirt, maxi skirt. This would be a good example. And these are okay. This is our product, and this is sponsored. This is we're doing marketing.
Mhm.
This is a friend of mine selling the same product in a 3-pack. I think his stuff is now made in either Mexico or China. He used to produce here. But from now here, these are all Chinese companies. Shine, this is a big Chinese company. These are all Chinese, Chinese, Chinese. This is a American company selling Chinese products or maybe Mexican.
Mhm.
And the owners are Korean. This is a Korean guy in America. Uh,
Mhm.
this is Chinese. This is, I think this one is made in USA. This company is based out of New York. These are all Chinese. This is a Korean company, but Chinese. Uh,
You can't tell it. The prices look pretty comparable, wouldn't you say?
because so if you looked at this 2 years ago, this dress right here from this company was 1999.
Mm.
But since COVID and all the shipping and changes that have been made and inflation, they've had to raise their prices. So
Mhm.
now we're more competitive, and uh, that's that's what like sort of kept us in business the way we've done it compared to other people. There used to be more American companies, but they just went out. They couldn't make any money. They couldn't compete. But anyways, I mean these are all it's all Chinese. Even this one, American Trend is a Chinese company.
Wow.
They're just using the name. Yeah.
Mm. So, I guess I have a question thinking about this. Um, I'm gonna link to Popana.com in the episode description. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
I um I was thinking about this. What's this conception of China being, China's labeled this and that in the media and from analysts, especially in the Western world. Where do you see China going within the next 10 to 20 years as far as economic models and just world hegemony in general? When you talk about this type of, I guess, encroachment, I guess, or involvement in a lot of the markets that we normally would have been, I guess, cornering. Where do you see China as far as like the new hegemon in the world? Are they
I
already
think
there?
I think China is going to be the next superpower. And that's all the things that we're seeing right now is because of that. And that's partially our own fault. You know, we went to China for all the cheap stuff while they were building their infrastructure, and we didn't build ours, you know. So we have a crumbling industry, like, or factories, because these are all old and we didn't invest in it, while China is using all the latest technology, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the problem for the US, you know, usually you would say, okay, well, if this happens, the manufacturing is going to come back to the United States. And that's true partially, but we don't have the people, the skill set, or the tech, the thing right now to be able to do that, right? Well, if we have to set up new factories, new equipment, training, it takes 10 years to really build that for it to get to somewhere, right? So the question is not whether this thing is already happening and we're going to have to bring this manufacturing back, is that what do you do in the meantime, in the 10 years between the change, right? That's where the problem is. And this is the same thing with AI and a lot of other things, is how do you manage the transformation, right? And for us, for America, and what's happening between the United States and China, we have a few different problems, in my opinion. And one is that you have the dollar is going to lose its reserve status as a reserve currency, which will make the U.S. dollar kind of worthless, and that's going to lead to, you know, high inflation, and by the time, so you're gonna have high inflation, and then you're gonna say, okay, we're gonna bring this manufacturing back. But what are you gonna do? You can't just bring it back and start tomorrow. It takes time. So in the meantime, you're gonna be dealing with a lot of misery and inflation, and your economy collapsing, right? That's a short description of that. I mean, that's a short, truncated version of, you know, something that you could have a whole podcast in. But and this could lead to war. You know, and the U.S. is in a very bad spot, because not only we have the threat of de-dollarization, but we have our own economy that's it's going crazy, right? Because of all the policies that they've had, zero interest rates, and you know, just printing money. And are you there?
I'm still here. You froze, but I can still hear your audio fine.
You froze.
You are too, but I can hear you. We're back in business, I think, now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all good.
So here, this is what I said. I think we're gonna have at least the worst financial disaster in our generation, that's gonna last at least a decade.
So this is going to make 08, 09 look like nothing.
Yeah, nothing as bad as people think that things are going to get much worse. And I'm an optimistic person. You know, I'm not a doom and gloom. I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunities in those situations, just whether you have the ability to take advantage of it. You know, are you going to just be just look at all the negative? There's also a lot of opportunities. It's just how you view the world, right? So if you're going to stay on and be negative, then yeah, if everything is going to turn out bad. But it's going to be hard. Don't get me wrong. Even if you're going to be successful with those opportunities, things are still going to be very hard. But you come out better on the other end. So it's it's gonna be difficult times, and I think mainly it's gonna be through inflation, unemployment, and at the same time, automation. So as things are getting bad right now, and inflation is gonna go higher, wages are gonna have to go up, and the companies, in order to survive, and I think especially fast food, that you're gonna see that in the next few years, is gonna be completely transformed to just all the robotics and automation.
You think that that's going to happen within this 10-year frame?
It's already happening. You go look up White Castle. White Castle doesn't have any more fryers. The fryer is a robotic arm that cooks all your chicken nuggets and your fries. It's not some guy standing there.
Oh wow!
Cooking your fries. Now it's a robot that's doing that. White Castle would say they're doing this for liability because they don't want people to get burned by hot oil, but in reality, it's a test, right? This thing can do this all day and night, 24/7. Is not going to complain. Is not going to ask for a raise. You don't have to pay him health insurance. You don't have to do any of that. And as wages go up, this robot is going to be doing the same thing. It's just going to be doing what it does.
So who's getting the money from that artificial intelligence? Just the person who produced it?
They're robotic companies.
Okay.
The robotic companies, yeah. There's a company called Miso Robotics that they're doing these. They're geared towards restaurant. But here's the problem: when you have a recession and people lose their jobs, they usually go try to get jobs at a grocery store or a fast food restaurant or drive an Uber or some of these jobs to just get by until they find a job. Now, what if those jobs are no longer available? Because those guys are also dealing with their own set of problems and inflations, and they're going to be investing heavily in automation. Right?
Yeah, but I'm curious. I'm still pretty skeptical of automation. Only I'm skeptical of the scale of automation. I know it's happening now, and I know that's the trend. Like we're already seeing it. I was actually watching. I don't know if you got this news, but they did an AI collaboration with the rapper Drake and The Weeknd, the singer, and they cut a track using artificial intelligence. It's crazy, and you should have seen the reactions on there. People were like, "This is really scary." That, I mean, this is like artistry, and honestly, and some of the people were saying it really doesn't sound half bad, considering how the music industry has changed as it is. And so this artificial intelligence is almost it almost complements it pretty well, considering that there's a perception that the artistic angle of some of the people isn't really the way it used to be when it came to producing music anyway, because music is so fueled by electronic usage. And so AI is almost a facilitator to that process of the dubbing of the voices and everything else. I mean, it's really no different than what they're doing now. They're just using AI doing it.
Right. So you got to differentiate between AI and robots. Robots are the ones that are going to be,
What do you
AI
think?
is a program that can think, right? So, and there's different AIs. There is AI, for example, the White Castle robotic arm, right? That uses AI, or they call that, but that's a dumb AI. The dumb AI is just it's learned to take a photograph of what it's picking up and differentiate between nuggets and fries. Right? That's all it does. It still uses some kind of artificial intelligence to differentiate between nuggets and fries. The music part is something that AI, what they call the artificial general intelligence, is something like ChatGPT, is a little bit different.
Okay.
Right? I'm talking about specifically in terms of jobs. ChatGPT or the AI you're talking about, a lot of creative jobs like in advertising, marketing, and things like that, those can get replaced by AI. Journalism, we can get people just need to publish constant articles. A lot of that could be replaced by AI. You couldn't tell the difference. So that's a whole different conversation about where that can take you if you have control over the mind of the AI. You know, how you can that's a matter of how you can influence people.
But where do you see the deepness of AI going? I guess that's what I'm struggling with.
Let's take. I think we can talk about, but we're talking about the economy in China and how things are changing, right? We're in a place where we're at a point where it's not just another recession. We're going into a recession with a de-dollarization where the U.S. is going to lose its status as a superpower and lose its reserve currency. And you have automation and intelligence coming in at the same time that could replace a lot of the jobs that people are getting laid off, that because of inflation, it'll be more attractive for companies to invest in automation and robotics, right? So a lot of physical jobs are going to get replaced or done away with. So the question is, what do all these people do that have lost their jobs? And I think that's part of the reason why they've been talking about the UBI, the Universal Basic Income, because how are these people going to get housed and get fed, and how are you going to deal with this massive shift in the way we produce things and do things and work gets done, right? Why would McDonald's right now? They've been working on this for a long time. Is the whole thing it can be automated, right? You go and right now you walk in, you touch the screen, you say you want a burger. There's a robot there doing that, and I think their drinks are already automatic. You go, you can see the drink comes down, plops in, water pours in and comes to you, and the person at the window picks it up and gives it to you, and they're going to replace that person with just all going to come over there and come out to you, right? So instead of having 5 people working at a McDonald's, you can have just one person there because they need someone in case something happens. But everything else is managed from a central location and with robots. Right? So another example that this happened years ago. At McDonald's, or you go to some of these the drive-through, right? It used to be a guy at the window taking your order, and then you pull up and you pay them, and then you go get your food. That guy has been replaced with someone at a call center. So when you pull up to the drive-through, the person taking your order, I'm in California, the person taking your order man, I think you can't hear me.
Hey, the last part you were talking about was when you're in California and the person's replacing your order. That's the last thing.
I think somebody doesn't want us talking about these things. These are too sensitive.
No, but continue with your point about someone in California taking your order. That was the last.
Yeah, you have somebody in a call center in Minnesota taking your order. And that makes sense, because why would they need hire someone to stand there taking your order, right? And when there is no work, that guy's still standing there getting paid, while they could just have one person constantly taking orders from 20 different McDonald's, all right, 24/7. right? Think about the savings. Now, instead of having 10 people at each location, you have maybe 3 people handling all the locations, right? Taking your order. It's just they're taking an order. It pops up in the computer at the store. They make their stuff. So now imagine connecting that to a robot and getting all that work done, right? So there are these huge changes that are coming, and it's not in like 2 years or 3 years. We're talking in the next 10 years. That's why I said this is about how we think about this for our children. What can, when you have young kids, what are their job prospects, or what the world's gonna look like when they're older, getting out of university, looking for a job? What is that gonna look like? And and not only that, I think the biggest problem, and I think we talked about this on the phone one time, is if you have all this automation where a lot of these jobs get automated and there's just not enough jobs, right? And you do a universal basic income, which I think at that point you're gonna have to. The question is, there are 2 things. I think this, and it's not all doom and gloom with having robots and AI. It's what we choose to do with it. It's how we use them. We could either use AI and automation and robots to help humanity, to free us from, me sitting behind this fucking desk for 8 hours a day, right? Trying to make money, or people going to work, having multiple jobs to feed their family, to being able to have abundance of things, right? Where we use it to help humanity, to not have to work as much, and you can do the things that you like, spend more time with your family, learn the things that you want, have less stress in your life, improve the quality of of humanity, right? Where things are not just about me and how much money I make, but rather how I can contribute to society. We need, if it comes to the way our consciousness, in a way, the way we think of ourselves as humans and in a relationship to each other, right? Versus how am I going to make more money with AI, right? But that's one thing. But when you replace all these work, and let's say even if you give them money to be able to consume these things, and you have a bunch of people on top who are making all the money, right? I think that the biggest threat to humanity in the future, if we don't do this right, is going to be boredom and lack of meaning.
Yes.
Right.
Gavin Bonnie was on the pod. He's running as an independent candidate for president of the United States. And we talked a little bit about artificial intelligence and UBI, kind of like the intersection of the two. And he said also just laziness would be his biggest concern. The board.
Yeah. Well, it's not lazy. There are no jobs, right? So the question is, how do you transition? So you have to find, it could be a hobby, whether it's, I say the most important thing to develop in our children is going to be their consciousness, and for them to be able to be self-sufficient, right? Right now, you could bake a bread, cook, gardening, arts, learn different things, learn programming, do things, being able to do stuff around the house instead of, being more handy. Because these are the things that you can do, that you do it on your own time. You do it not in stress, because you don't have to do it as a job because you have to make money. You understand what I'm saying? It's that kind of thing that I don't think we're addressing. And for our children, that's going to be the main thing. What are you going to do with your life so that you have a purpose, and so that you have a meaning when you have an abundance of things, right? But again, that's if we choose as humanity to use artificial intelligence and robots to benefit humanity instead of enslaving humanity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt.
Did we get cut off again?
No. I was listening to what you were saying. So you seem to, this almost sounds like a great reset, but not in a bad way. I think you froze up again. Let's see, it'll probably come.
Man, we are hitting a nerve somewhere.
No,
I'm telling you.
Is this AI at use right now?
I don't know. It's AI or
That's
I don't know.
crazy. No, it's just weird because I've only had this in a couple of interviews. I mean, I've interviewed people in Australia, India,
Right.
Bangladesh. I haven't had these issues whatsoever. So I don't know. It's fine though, because the beauty of it, that's what editing is.
Right.
But no, this sounds like a great reset, but almost in a good way. What you're describing.
If we choose,
Mm-hmm.
it's up to us, right? Your government's gonna tell you a lot of things. They're gonna make you think a certain way, and they're already talking about CBDC, and if that's implemented, and the problem is everybody's like, oh, they're gonna have CBDC, but we're not doing anything about it. We're just saying, oh, they're gonna do this. We know they're gonna do it, right? The question is, how do you stand up to it?
Mm-hmm.
We've just been taught, well, I'm only one person, but if people are aware, it ultimately comes down to us. It's only up to us.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make any sense? Like it's all these technologies, even social media, right? Social media is right now we're using it to our detriment.
Yeah, we are.
Right? About making money and what we're pushing and what we're exposing our children to and how we're forming their minds. But that same social media, if you curate it right, you can learn a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot that you can share. There's a lot of things that you can do, but it depends on how you choose to do it and how we having being of a higher, it's about, I don't know, people say that we got to raise our consciousness, and it's true. It is. You have to be think. We have to transform the way we think of ourselves and human beings and our connection to each other, right? Once we do that, where you're there to serve humanity, to make things better because you want to leave a world a better place for your children and your grandchildren and your great grandchildren, right? If we think of those terms, all of these division between, okay, well, the transgender, this, it's all gonna go away. These are all a fucking excuse to just keep your mind distracted and divided. So I don't know, these are like kind of more philosophical, but I think it's becoming more, you can see it, like especially with AI and robots. Again, you could either use it to benefit humanity and people can, but sometimes governments or certain people can pitch it to you in a way that it's benefiting, it's for your benefit, but on the other end is really just the total opposite. So we have to be able to differentiate between, is it really to our benefit or to our detriment? But we have the potential to do all of these with the view that it's going to be, we have to use it for good and not have it as a pitch, as a marketing strategy to get you hooked onto something where, on the other end, you see it's something totally different.
I
So
had something I want to touch with you on something you said before about the de-dollarization, because I don't know if you listened to episode 36 with S.L. Canton. He's a geopolitical analyst from India, and we talked at length about de-dollarization and the question of the reserve currency status of the United States. And um, he seemed to suggest that right now, like the yuan, for instance, isn't in a position to be the reserve currency. The dollar is still the reserve currency of the world.
for now,
But he differentiates between the reserve currency and the trade currency, because there's obviously an initiative right now for countries to trade in their local currencies. And so you already see that there's a lack of need to use US dollars in those kind of situations, because in that case, you can basically just trade within your local currencies, whatever, commodities, whatever you want to do. But he seemed to suggest that as long as the dollar is tied to the central banks around the world and the IMF and all these bodies, that that's going to be a long process before the dollar loses that. Because we're still talking about, when we talk about currencies, we can't get the dollar out of our nomenclature. We still talk about the dollar. We compare everything to the dollar still. So is that really a realistic view that the dollar is going to lose its reserve currency status? Or are we talking about two different things, trading versus
I mean,
actual?
I think you have to first consider what the dollar is backed by.
Right. And that's very
What
true.
is the dollar backed by currently?
It's just bonds. I mean, it's nothing. It's paper.
No, no. I mean, yes, but really, what is the dollar backed? What's behind the dollar? What made the dollar the reserve currency? What was it before and what is it now?
It was the gold standard.
Right, but it's not the gold standard anymore.
I know it hasn't been for 50 some years.
Right, so what is it?
It must be it has to be the psychology of the dollar. It must be people believe the dollar.
I think right now is the psychologies that we're all been fooled into thinking that the dollar is the dollar, right? But after the gold standard, the reason why the dollar became a dollar was because what we call the petrodollar. The United States went to Saudi Arabia and said, we're gonna help you grow your economy. We're gonna help you grow your, build your old fields. We're gonna support you militarily, but under one condition, that anytime you trade oil, it has to be in dollars and no other currency. And that's what's been holding the dollar up ever since.
So that's beginning to fall apart.
But Saudi Arabia has already hinted that they're going to start trading oil in the yuan or in the rubles and in other currencies.
BRICS alliance stuff going on.
The BRICS alliance. And once that happens, the only thing that's holding up the dollar is just the story that they can push and shove down your throat as long as they can. That's really just the dollar is going to continue until the story falls apart.
Oh, okay. On that note, how so where does the IMF and all these central banks play into keeping this dollar hegemony alive? Like, what does that come into?
They're the only way they're gonna, and well, this ties into inflation. The only, so I mean, there's a lot of different factors. I'm not saying the dollar is going to be lose its status like tomorrow or in the next year. Still, you got like another. It's going to take 4 or 5 years, right? But you're already seeing that they're talking about it. But it's like a graph. It's going to go like this, and then, right? It's going to get compounded. And so there are all these African countries that are talking about get rid of your dollar. China and Saudi Arabia, they're holding a lot of these treasuries, right? What happens? And they've already stopped buying treasuries. What happens if they decide to sell those treasuries? And there's nobody there to buy them.
They're going to be stuck too, right?
No, interest rates are going to go through the roof.
That's true.
Right?
That's true. Mm-hmm.
And but the government can't allow those interest rates to rise, because then we'll go bankrupt. Because we won't. Right now, it's hard for us to even service the debt, service the interest on the debt that we have. Right. So if they raise interest rates, we don't have enough money to pay to even pay the interest on the debt that we have. So the only thing the government can do and will do at that point is to print more money, to devalue the dollar, so that you inflate away the debt, right? So if $100 today buys you a tank of gas, right? If the currency is devalued, so that a carton of eggs costs $100 instead of $5, right? Then the debt that you hold. So let's put it in terms of this. Let's say you have a mortgage on your house that's, or even a rent, doesn't matter. Let's say you're living in your house and you have a 10-year lease on your house at $1,500 a month, right? So for the next 10 years, you're only paying $1,500 a month. We're gonna make this simple, right? $1,500 a month, it's set, you got a contract, and it's done. If every year inflation goes up by 10%, right? Then by the time you get to year 5, right? That's 150 times 5. That's 306 on $750, right? So in year 5, you're still paying $1,500, right? But the value of that $1,500 is $750 in today's money, because the value of that money has gone down by almost 50%. So in a sense, your landlord is getting 50% less than he used to get when he signed the lease, right? But you're benefiting because you locked in at that rate. Okay. So in order for the government to pay that debt or to make it work, they have to devalue the dollar, to inflate it. Right? So that the debt just becomes worthless. If a car is going to cost $1 million in 5 years, right? And you bought a house for $1 million today, you can let your payments on that debt that loan is going to be worthless to the bank. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's what's going to happen. So when you're printing all this money, then you have hyperinflation. The more you do that, then the dollar is going to lose value. So then why would Chinese or anybody else want to trade in the dollar? Because it's a worthless currency. You see what I'm saying? We have 2 problems. If we raise interest rates, we'll go bankrupt. If we drop interest rates and inflate our currency or print more money to devalue, then nobody wants to trade in dollars because it's a worthless paper. We're stuck in a it's a lose-lose situation.
Okay.
And in those situations, governments have always have gone with printing money and devaluing their currency, inflating away their debt. And again, when you have a lot of inflation on the other end, the wages have to go up, everything gets more expensive. And in order for back in the day, you didn't have the option of robots. You tried to cut costs. Now you just invested in robots, and that robot is going to work for you for the next 10 years, and you're setting your wages, for the next 10 years. no health insurance. You don't have to deal with any of this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you bring, you're sort of fixing your cost in today's money, and you know, hoping that you're gonna benefit on the other end because that cost is sort of fixed. You see what I'm saying? Like there's so many different things happening at once
Mm-hmm.
that we've never been in this situation before ever.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's not just another recession.
No, it's not.
It's a turning point, not only for America, but it's gonna have consequences for the human civilization.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's like the more philosophical part of it. But
You talking about from a Western standpoint? Because I think other areas around the world, Latin America is familiar with this, hyperinflation. Africa's familiar with it. Do you mean as far as a Western mindset, this is going to be something new for Westerners?
that too, yeah, but it's already happened other places. For us, is going to be the biggest thing. But all these things is going to have a ripple effect throughout the world,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because like AI and technology and things like that, they're become more prevalent,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the same person in Saudi Arabia or Iran or Bangladesh or Brazil or only Salvador, they have access to Instagram, they have access to a cell phone, right? So all this automation and robotic, it's going to eventually ripple out throughout the rest of the world.
I have, since we're talking about artificial intelligence, I'm curious, what do you make of the comments of Elon Musk a couple of weeks ago when he said he's concerned about AI? Did you pick up on that? And why would he say something like, why would he, a person in his position, be concerned about AI? Like, what is he talking about?
He's talking about the AIs could take over if they're his point is that if we don't put in safeguards into the way AI thinks and the way the AI works, there is nothing to stop it because it's going to be so much more smarter than us as humans. And it's not necessarily smarter. I mean, it's smarter, but its capacity to think and run calculations at a rate that me and you are just not capable of doing, right?
Yeah, but aren't the humans programming AI?
It's called the large language model. I think it's just taking, they are, it's learning, and it goes back to what I said. So the AI is like a baby, right? The way AI is learning, it's just vacuuming all this data and information and is correlating it to see how it works, right?
Mm-hmm.
That data comes from the way we behave with each other, right? If we're constantly bickering and bullying each other on social media or whatever, that's just one example. Then in its infancy, that's what the consciousness of the AI is, right? And then it gets more powerful and it gets more information, right? Then it can turn on you because it can manipulate you with the way we've been manipulating each other, but it'll do it at a far faster rate and accuracy and precision than me and you doing it to each other. Because it has vastly more information, more computing power, more data than, like right now if we start cussing at each other, like bullying each other, right? We're right here just talking. I don't know about you, what you just did this morning, last night, who were you talking to, where you've been to, what your routine is, but the AI knows. The AI knows, you know, where you've been, what you do, everywhere you go, who you talk to, what you've said for the past 10 years, what you've searched online, what you looked at, who you talked to. It's no, like where you drive, and us humans are like kind of predictable. You do the
Right.
same thing every day. You go, I wake up, I take my kids to school, and I drive to the office.
Mm-hmm.
We're very predictable.
Yeah.
But I don't know your routine, right? So it's hard. When we do these things to each other, it's hard. It's much harder for me to try to manipulate you because I don't have my information is limited, right? It will take me much longer to, like, when people like catfish on like thing, it takes time, and like somebody has to sit there and like talk to you and like try to like plan on your emotion. But the AI has a lot of that information beforehand. They know what triggers you, what you've done, what you like, what you're into, what you browse, and it can automatically come up with like 50 different ways to come at you and constantly improve it to see what ticks you. So it can manipulate you much faster. But not only you, also me and a whole country, the whole planet. And if somebody is in charge of that, or people, then they can just manipulate humanity, right? And the big part again is going to be our children, because they're going to grow up in a world where the AI will manipulate them from when they're much younger than us, right? So I think that's we keep going to that. It's not necessarily about us. Obviously, we're gonna be affected by it. I think a lot of financially and all the changes that are gonna happen. But the next phase of this is the next generation, and that what are the consequences of that for humanity and the human civil. You see that every time we talk about this, it gets a little fuzzy.
Isn't it crazy? I know. Can you hear me now, though, still?
Yeah.
No, I was going to ask you a question. Hopefully, this thing doesn't cut off on us. So everything you're saying is interesting, but it brings me to a question of kind of how we've done things up until this point. How does this talk of the economy and the downside, the downfall, this deep recession, how does this play into the military industrial complex? Is that going to have to make that adjust to something else? Like, wouldn't that lower the possibility of more war, all this nuclear war talk and stuff? Like, how is war going to help if the economy is already in the tanks? I guess at this point.
That's the biggest reason why to start a war.
Yeah.
Because that's how you come back. That's how you build your economy back. More money going to military things, more production, more bombing, more people dying. Then you go rebuild it, and you get that money, and that trickles down back to you. So that's why they're talking about Taiwan is such a sensitive subject.
It just happens to be China, right? It's always Russia and China.
Yeah, it's just it's not the first time that this has happened. When you've had places losing, the central bankers losing control, or a superpower losing their status, it's always followed by war. All right, like, think about it this way. I mean, this is, I guess it goes in the realm of conspiracy, right? When was 9/11? What year 9/11 happened?
01.
01.
You can make the argument that there was an attempt to do it before that, but 01.
right? What had happened just before that?
The Bush election.
The year before that, the economy.
Yeah. Yep.
What do we have? We have the .com bust.
The .com bust. Yep.
Right? The economy was in a thing. 9/11 happens. You know, all these Saudi Arabian guys from Saudi Arabia, the terrorists, and we go to war in Iraq.
Right.
And Afghanistan. We just went to war. Right?
Without even question. It's just everyone was on the same page.
That's what it just happened.
All these adversaries were on the same page.
Right. And then 2008 happened. Then we had another war. Where did we go? To Yemen. We had another thing. It's happened after every recession. In order for your economy to recover, you just go to war.
But we're already at war, technically, right?
This is the isolated, but these are all like sort of proxy wars.
They are,
in a sense, right? So with Ukraine, everybody is like, oh, Ukraine, this, you know. I'm talking about, for example, with me, what's crazy to me is they're talking about all these Jewish people, right? I'm Jewish, so I can talk about it, right? So all these Jewish people, American Jews, I'll call them. Oh, Ukraine, because we get a lot of that propaganda too. Oh, the Ukrainian Jews, and you know what they're gonna do. My first question is, why are you saying as if there are no Jews who live in Russia?
Exactly.
You know, with all these Jews that were killed during World War II. There's a you know, there's a guy on Instagram. There's a rabbi, I think he's called the Chabad of Rostov. He has all these things. He's talking about, he's in like city in Russia called Rostov, where there was a lot of atrocities that happened in that area. There's all these people in their 90s right now that have nobody, that used to be, you know, that were affected by the war. So it's a cool thing to follow him on Instagram. And he has all these stories. Very, very inspirational guy. So that's what we like. What are you talking about? It's not about Jews. I know, like, oh, Zelensky because he's a Jew. No, Bernie Madoff was a Jew, right? Jeffrey Epstein was a Jew. What's his name? Harvey Lee Weinstein was a Jew. Well, I'm telling you.
I'm starting to believe this is not coincidence, man. At this point, I'm serious. That's crazy.
You know what's crazy?
Harvey Lee Weinstein is a Jew, and then it cut off completely.
But what's more crazy, and please don't take this as a disrespect, is that we're on a podcast that's like 0.000000000 people listen to, right? It's not like Joe Rogan.
Right, exactly.
All right. We're me and you right now are like chicken shit in the world of podcasts. And we're nobody, you know? But shit, man.
Isn't it? But this is fucking with my head, dude. Honestly, it is.
Because it's not happening randomly. It's happening when we're talking about very specific.
It's crazy, man. I'm like, does Zoom have some like fucking algorithm or something?
You know, the Zoom was an interesting fucking thing about how Zoom came about too.
What is that?
My own theory about Zoom.
I love the conspiratorial, Benny, man. Just so you know, I co-sign it, man. I like it.
And I mean, this is, it goes back to whether, like whole COVID, right? Zoom became Zoom during COVID,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what's Zoom? Zoom is a Chinese company.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh
Zoom
my
is a
gosh.
Chinese company.
Dude, that's crazy.
You can look it up. There's here. Oh, let me see.
That's why I love talking to people. I don't like looking up stuff. I just love
Zoom CEO.
to get the
Zoom
information.
CEO Eric Yuan. Eric S. Yuan is a Chinese-American billionaire businessman, engineer, and chief executive officer and founder of Zoom Video Communication, of which he owns 22%. First year in 87, the technology software took the train. But anyways, and this is not to say whether China released the virus or America. This is not about. It's about whether China knew there was whether they released it or they knew they were gonna be blamed for it, or because these people don't think the way me and you do. They think of like in like very complicated ways. And Zoom went public right before, I think right before, when did Zoom go public? Let me see, because this will make a difference. I don't want to say something wrong. When did Zoom come out?
What were you saying before we transitioned to this when we got interrupted by the technology? What were you saying about what was the broader point you were making about the U.S. Jews here when it comes to Ukraine?
No, I'm just saying the problem is that we also get propagandized by our own people sometimes, or by people to support a certain thing. And a lot of times it just goes back to the Holocaust and Nazis, like just how like the word Nazi became such a meaningless thing, because everything, no matter what, you were just a Nazi. If you wore a MAGA hat, you're a Nazi. If you're like it's offensive to me as a Jew, and I'm a Middle Eastern Jew, and none of my family, Middle Eastern Jews, were not affected by the Holocaust, right? But we have that in common as Jews. European Jews are the ones that were affected by the Holocaust. And to cheapen the word Nazi and what it means, and the idea of Holocaust, to some stupid reaction or an action of somebody who said something, to call him a Hitler or a Nazi,
that's
to
ridiculous.
Me it's ridiculous. And it's a disgrace, and it's for all the people who lost their lives and who suffered, and how they killed, and their families, because of it, it's just, to me, it's just a terrible thing.
It's weaponizing something. Completely weaponizing something. Right. Taking out of context.
Like when it came to like Kanye, call him a Nazi. Kanye is not a Nazi. Kanye
God, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
I think he has a trouble communicating. When he said the Jews. Okay, maybe the people he's dealing with, a lot of people in Hollywood who are Jews that are big executives, but it's not a representation of all Jews. Like it just, and that's part of our problems. The same thing, you say, all black people are gangsters, for example, or all Arabs or Muslims are terrorists, or it's stupid. So, and by the way, I think Kanye is also a very smart guy. I don't know if you caught this with when he did his Twitter, when Nike, was it Nike or Adidas canceled? It was Adidas.
We talked about this in
Yeah.
the episode.
They canceled his contract. I think Kanye has set that up himself.
Interesting.
Because he came up in a video and he said, after all this stuff happened, he said, you've never seen anyone get out of $1 billion contract off of one tweet.
That's very true.
Gotcha. He's been wanting to get out of those contracts. Both with, and he's been talking about it with Gap and Adidas, because they were just trying to use his name.
And he's got
But he
Donda
wanted
anyway.
to be
He's
involved.
already got stuff going.
Right. So, and he couldn't just say, fuck you guys, I'm going to go do my own thing. He had to get out of the contract. So,
and
what better way to do something like that? I mean, either it could be a combination of both. He knew what to do in order to get out of those contracts, because he knew a whole complex was going to be coming after him, and they're going to force those people to drop him. But that's how, like what I said, when Chinese, with these people, like states, think about maneuvering things, right? That could be a Kanye move in that way. I don't know if that makes any sense or not.
No, it does. It does.
Okay.
You know, the whole history. I was making my audience aware of the history of Adidas and how it was founded.
They were Nazis.
I know, and people were sending me messages and saying, "Oh, guys, like question mark." I was like, "Just look it up."
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking? I think that's the irony of it.
Yeah, weren't they like making like the military uniform or something for the Nazis?
They were hardcore deep in the Nazi party, the Dazzler.
But I know there wasn't like another company that used to make uniforms, or
yes,
even the Pfizer, the parent company of Pfizer. They used to make the gas that went into the gas chambers.
Oh god, and Deutsche Bank has ties.
IG Farben, I think.
Yeah,
the same company that owns Monsanto right now, I think.
This stuff is so connected, and then people talk about the deep state. I mean, hell, we're describing it, man.
Do you still listen to George Webb?
You know what? I've been having a hard time finding him. To be
Rumble and Twitter.
Every time I follow, every time I click on a video, it's like you can rarely find anything. I might have to go to Rumble, because if you go to YouTube,
it's not on YouTube. It's Rumble and Twitter. Follow him on Twitter.
So tell me, is he allowed to have a Twitter?
Yeah, he has Twitter.
So tell the audience who this George Webb person is. He's an investigative journalist.
He's an independent investigative journalist that has been spot on most of this stuff that we're hearing today, that he was talking about it right at the beginning of, for even before COVID, for years, since like 2016, has been on the trail. And a lot of the predictions and things he said came true, and now he's like after what's his name, Bob Malone.
Oh, Robert Malone, he's after
Robert Malone, yeah, because Robert Malone is not who you think he is, and he's like exposing that.
Oh, I don't even I think people get so, I'm sorry, man. I hate to say this to my conservative friends, but y'all are some gullible motherfuckers, man. I'm sorry. Like, y'all talk about liberals and stuff, like y'all are pretty much the same to me.
We all are. We're just projecting.
It's just, I'm like, dude, this is crazy. Like the same, it's like they get so like emotional about like stupid shit. And I'm just saying, where did this Malone guy come out? He just came out of the woodworks.
I don't really. Yeah, I mean that's one of the signs. Like when all of a sudden somebody comes out of nowhere and they become the face, you got to start questioning. That's what I've learned. But I don't know. Honestly, I've been very busy with just work lately and like my own like other stuff.
What was George Webb talking about? What was he speaking about with regards to Malone? What was he saying?
I think about how he did, like part of the reason why what's that thing that they were giving for COVID? not ivermectin, the remdesivir.
The
Part of the reason why remdesivir was approved was because Bob Malone or Robert Malone, the test that he did, he tested it on something like, instead of approving or talking about ivermectin, he ignored all that, and he was like testing Pepsid AC or something. And like, I don't. You have to go look at it. I don't know exactly.
I'll go check it out.
Something along that line. And his connection to the CIA and the DTRA, yeah, and his companies and his vaccines and things like that. So
I noticed that a lot of these YouTubers and like I said, I'm not going to drop any more names because people can probably read between the lines, but these so-called independent YouTubers, it's like they always try to get the flash in the pan guests on their shows. And it's like you don't even see them around like a year or two from now, and you won't even see these people anymore. Like, I don't know if they're going to be dead or just whatever, they just fall out of popularity or whatever. But I just think it's interesting how all of a sudden these people pop up, they become stars of the moment. They say Fauci became like the devil, which I mean, he's not a good person in my opinion. But then you have this savior that comes up.
And now and then now they're throwing him under the bus.
Exactly.
Fauci, they're talking about him now. He's like lied. He was a fall guy. You know, you could say he wasn't a good guy, but at the same time, he was a fall guy, right?
And Trump was aware of this, right? Because he kept him in.
I don't know.
Wasn't he under Trump's government? Like Trump could have fired him, right?
Yeah, but Trump also, you gotta realize it's not that simple. You gotta play the game. Like it's not just, oh, let's just fire him, because then what are the consequences of that for people's opinions and how it can be taken out of context, and who else is influencing Trump, and there's a lot of things that we don't see. So
you're right.
I think Robert Kennedy is also a good person. He talks about a lot of that, like how Trump was gonna put him in charge of the Vaccine Safety Commission or something. And he went to Fauci and he would like ask him questions, but then a week later Pfizer threw like $1 million fundraising for Trump, and that kind of put a lid on him becoming the Vaccine Safety Commission or something. So
okay, we got about 15 minutes left because I got to go get my kids, but I wanted to that's a perfect transition. I didn't know your views about RFK and stuff. Like, I followed him some through this whole episode. And honestly, like I said, I started to get at a point where the COVID narratives became just too much, even for me. Like I said, I was always a person, like, I'm all about body autonomy. But at some point, it's like, isn't this been talked about almost too much now? It's almost becoming like a porn. It's like, that's all I heard people talking about at one point was just the pharmaceutical companies. And I'm like, how much more are we going to talk about this? Like, it's like, okay, so what are we going to do? And
or like, the people who are always against the pharmaceutical companies and against the government and how these companies are bad and have too much thing, they're the ones lining up first one taking the vaccine. Like the yoga instructor who's into like health and fitness and all natural is you're a Nazi if you don't take a vaccine. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
but what are your views about this upcoming like cycle? I mean, where I stand on this stuff, whatever. I don't even platform people who are running for public office who identify as a DNR. I don't even pay attention to them. But I think it's interesting that Kennedy is running under the D label. I mean, I know he has the family ties and everything, but what's your view as far as that is concerned? Is he even going to get any traction? I say probably not, because they're going to derail him like they did, people in the past.
With Bernie, like how they derailed Bernie twice.
But I think, honestly, I think Bernie's like an idiot like now. And
no, I understand that, but look, it doesn't matter whether he's an idiot or not. It's whether they did him wrong,
they
or
did.
you know, and it was so obvious, right? They're just say, hey, this is like it was like so obvious to people and everybody. It's like they used him, and then when they saw he was the favorite, they came up with some excuse to make Hillary the thing, you know.
But at some point, does he play a part in this scheme? That's the part where I'm kind of
I don't know, maybe, but I don't know,
because it's
maybe
like they
possible.
screw you one time and you see, but it's like for you to just keep going back to the same playbook. That's what kind of makes me just.
He could be manipulated. We're all can be manipulated, you know.
That's true.
So I don't know. I really don't have. I don't know enough. I don't know. But as far as what I think about the upcoming saga, I think it's going to be a shit show. The one word for it is a shit show. But as far as Robert Kennedy running, I was actually thinking about that today. Why is he running as a Democrat? It makes it depends on how you look at it. I don't have I have like multiple, I don't want to call it theories or ideas. You know, if it's something to wake up the Democrats to see how they're going to treat him, because there's also a lot of Democrats who, with the whole vaccine thing, now that, you know, we know it's not everything they told us. There were side effects. So it's one thing to see how they're going to handle it. It could split the Democratic Party, but also because there's who are the Democrats are gonna run for president? Biden. Who even the Democrats are like, who the like, no thanks. I don't care if you're the most diehard Democrat. They were like, no thanks. Like the dude is just falling apart. He's like, you know.
This motherfucker, didn't he like land in fucking England and he didn't even
he like pushed him away.
Like he pushed the guy.
Yeah, he didn't recognize.
Like what the fuck?
I don't know whether
like,
he didn't recognize him.
It
could be, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. So, I mean, this is how I look at it. I kind of try to break it down. All right. So you have Robert Kennedy. Who can run against Robert Kennedy in the Democratic Party? Or we have one candidate, Robert Kennedy. Joe Biden, he said he's gonna run. Fine, he's got no fucking chance unless
Marianne Williamson, no chance at all.
Who?
Marianne Williamson, no chance at all.
Who is that?
She's this billionaire. I don't know much. I don't follow her much, but she's trying to paint herself as being a progressive Democrat.
Well, she's not gonna win because nobody knows her, right? It's gotta be somebody. Usually, it's like people that you know. Especially now because it's all a show. It's a popular, you know. So Robert Kennedy, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton again.
You're talking about Bernie running again. Like, why the hell is he?
But it's too old. These people are too. I don't think people have realized that these guys are too old. So they're gonna run Joe Biden, but he's gonna no chance unless, you know, they're gonna steal it. Like, there's no way that Joe Biden will win again. If he does, there is 100% chance that the election was stolen. There's no other fucking way.
And
you
like
can argue 2020, right? There is no way you can argue yourself out of Joe Biden winning the 2024 fucking election. There's no way. If he wins, there has to be 100% fraud. There's no ifs and buts. There's no I don't care.
No doubt. Even in 2020 when he won, he won way less counties even than Obama in his re-election.
At the least, whether true or false, they had some arguments, right? They had a counter argument. They had all these things. They can manipulate you out of it if they wanted to. In 2024, there is no way out of it. If he wins, There is no way out of that shit. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. I'm listening, man.
There's just no fucking way. There is no way. So he's gonna run, but that's a no. Who are they gonna? Hillary Clinton?
Oh God.
Not a winner. What are they gonna? They're gonna run Clinton against Trump and DeSantis, or DeSantis, right? No way.
Mm-hmm.
Who else is left that we would know of? I mean,
they're talking. I mean, what, Kamala?
Kamala, yeah. But
Pete Buttigieg?
that fucking hyena she can't. She's you know, you could make an argument for Biden that he's old and he's senile, and that's why he can't form sentences. It's just
she's
fucking
incompetent
old.
as fuck. I'm sorry.
She is just fucking retarded. Right? Incompetent and retarded. Like, at least Biden has an excuse. He's old. You know, you could blame it on dementia. She's just I don't even know how she got to where she is right now, but
I mean, cherry pick, man.
Okay, Kamala. What are they gonna do with Kamala? They're gonna run around, talk about how she's African, half African American, and a woman of color. They're gonna
and she's not even that, which is funny.
All right. Who else?
I don't know, man. Hey, I got my popcorn, and I'm all about building like independents, third parties. They may not win, but I'm all about that.
They're not gonna let a third party happen. They're just not.
I know that. I'm just talking about as far as just planting the seeds in people's minds, one person at a time.
Right.
It's about, we have to have accountability on the system, because otherwise I'd argue that there is no system anyway, because they're doing what they want to do anyway. It doesn't matter who's in. But let's think some kind of a mindset change.
All right, but let's walk this through. I don't know how much time we have. I know you're probably late.
Got about 10 minutes.
Okay, so let's walk that tree. So okay, fine. What are the other options? John Kerry is an option. Pete Buttigieg. Who else? A person of color, probably. They're gonna, you know.
I think it's odd that we're even talking about the incumbent party. Like, don't you find that odd in itself?
Because they don't have. Because I can't think of one.
I'm just saying, shouldn't the pressure be on the other side, the quote unquote the other side? Why are the Democrats?
Well, well, that's what I'm saying. I have different ideas of what this could be. Okay.
Okay.
So one right now, the Democrats, they have nobody, right? So it makes sense why JFK or RFK is running on a Democratic Party, because he also can get support. He's not going to run against Trump, right?
Do you think that that's on purpose?
So I think part of it, if there is some sort of plan, right? They're like to try to throw the ball towards Trump or to help Trump. One, because there's going to be between Trump and DeSantis. Because I couldn't think of anybody else. Because I can see Trump, DeSantis, probably Youngkin, Jeb Bush. Bush is they're done. They're not going to run. That's why DeSantis is there. Is for them. Who else?
That's interesting. So see, you're thinking like I am. I honestly thought that Trump was going to consider running as a Democrat. And I know people think that that's crazy, but I thought that was like a wild card type of situation. But I feel like RFK, obviously, he's there for a reason. And it sounds like it's a calculated move.
Well, yeah, it could be there because anybody else that they bring, right? He could be there to split the Democratic Party and the Democratic vote. Right? Because if I can win, the only way to increase my chances is to split your party, right? So that they're not gonna, like, if we divide them, then the RFK people aren't going to vote for the Biden people, and they're going to split the party. So there is most likely that they're going to go vote for DeSantis.
So you think that, let's just say that Biden wins the primary and runs again, which I don't know what's going to happen with that. So you're saying that the RFK people, after the primary ends and he doesn't win, you think that they're going to back DeSantis or Trump?
I think more DeSantis than Trump.
Because I see a lot
from the Democratic Party. Because the Democrats, they're not going to vote for Trump.
Really? Because I see a lot of love. I see a lot of Trumpers giving love to the RFK people. You don't see that being reciprocity?
Well, again, that could be another thing, because it's to split that. But the first thing is getting the votes out of the Democrats into Republicans, right? Mm-hmm. And then there could be another separate war going between DeSantis and Trump, because DeSantis also, I don't know, a lot of people think DeSantis is the saint because he's done all the right things.
I think he's a punk.
He's been sort of kind of like the way, I don't want to compare him to Zelensky because they're different things, but Zelensky was like an actor who played a president in a film or a thing that was, very big in Ukraine, and then he ran for president. They're sort of like prepped him, into the national consciousness, like kind of to program people to accept him. I think DeSantis, they've also kind of been priming him. That's like your Paul Ryan, Karl Rove, Bush type people presenting thing as a way, because they don't want Trump to win. Those guys don't want Trump to win because Trump is a lot of problem for them.
Has DeSantis actually declared?
No.
I know. See, that's what I'm saying. I'm skeptical.
But again, it's the anticipation. They're trying to build up, right? So everyone's just constantly. This is a game that they have to keep playing. They can't do it too early. It has to come. Like, I remember the way Obama, and I remember this very clearly. The first time I heard of Obama, and the way that he created buzz. Do you remember how it was?
Dude, it was fucking bananas, dude.
No, but the first time I heard of Obama, the people said he's gonna run for president, but he came out and he didn't run. I don't think he ran for president.
No, he came out of almost nowhere.
Right, but the way it happened, the buzz, the way I remember it, and it was like a big thing. He was on the news, and he was wearing a hat, and people were talking about, he could be running for president, and he came out and he said, what's the football team for Chicago? The NFL team, the Bears, right? He came out and he came out as if he was going to announce that he was going to run for president. So he set it up so that as if he's announcing his presidency, but then it says, "I'm here to support the Bears." On the news, and that created it went viral, and that's when it like sort of started. So with DeSantis or somebody else, you could see something like that, or you could see that things will get so bad that there will be no election. Or they're talking about how, do you know who else they could run? Fucking our fucking governor.
Stupid ass Newsom?
Newsom.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Newsom. Again, he's gonna run.
He's like nephew or something?
They're probably gonna run. Yeah, Newsom. I forgot about him. Nikki Haley's gonna run on the Republican side. No chance.
That's a joke. I mean, yeah, no chance at all. But yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. I believe this is Trump's to lose on the Republican side. I mean, DeSantis hasn't even declared yet, man.
Yeah, but it's too early. You don't know the things that could happen to just the country could just turn. We don't know what could happen. You could have another terrorist attack. You could have another like you don't know what. I'm not saying it's going to be a terrorist attack, but something to just completely out of left field. But it's really not going to be out of left field because
it's 2020, just like another fucking show again.
it could be, talking about Marburg out of Africa that's on the rise. There could be no election. There could be.
Oh gosh.
I'm just waiting for all the Black Lives Matter thing to start up again.
That's not going to happen.
Where is Black Lives Matter?
It's not going to happen again.
You don't think so?
No. Too many people figured it out, the scam. I think, like you said, we haven't mentioned Soros yet at all. Right. How he plays into all this, but there's definitely going to be some shenanigans, and it's anyone's guess what's going to happen leading up to 2024. Like you said, there's still a lot of time technically, but I feel like at the same time, I feel like we're at a precipice right now. Like the summer's going to have to give. Like if no one's declared after the summer, I just don't think there's going to be any more.
Well, Trump already said he's running.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
All right. I don't think it's going to be a one, and we're not going to have any sort of a normal election like what we think of as election. That's one.
It wasn't normal last time.
No, but it's going to be on a whole different level.
Oh shit! This is going to be. Let me get my popcorn.
I think it's going to be on a whole different level, and you don't know what could happen in between now and then regarding war, economy. Is Biden even going to make it to the end of his term? All right, exactly. That's one thing. Could someone get assassinated? Right.
Oh, they've already started.
They could Kennedy Trump. Nobody knows.
They already talked about. What about RFK's daughter has CIA ties or something? I've been seeing people talk about that.
I don't know.
And apparently she has a lot of pull in his campaign. And so I don't know what's going on exactly.
That could also be misinformation. You don't know until you go and actually look. I've learned, like, if people are going to talk about it, show me documents, tell me where you found it, so I can go look at it. I don't take anybody's word. That's no.
That's great advice, man. It really is. This is sort of a gossipy. The last 10, 15 minutes has been, but I like it though. It's speculative. Everyone's thinking about it. I mean, it's definitely been talked about, and it's probably the biggest unknown I've seen in this political back and forth 4-year cycle, in my lifetime anyway. It's definitely a big unknown.
But if we're talking about, you're talking about elites and people who control this country or the world, and if they want things to go a certain way, I think because they work together. It's not a Republican or a Democrat. It's just these people sitting on top pulling strings. They're gonna push the country to where DeSantis is going to be the winner of the election. But if Trump sort of derails that for them, then I think it should be some crazy things that happen.
Well, he's definitely part of the equation. He's a card in the deck. That's for damn sure, because his name's been coming up so much. I mean, they're obsessed with him. I mean, his enemies are obsessed with him. I mean, they can't keep his name out of their mouth. And
but if there is this elite or whatever, again, we're talking conspiracy. It's about in order for them to keep control of the country without it falling apart, they're definitely not letting Biden or anybody on the left win unless there is some internal war between two people up there that are competing with each other. But if they're working together, DeSantis is going to be the winner of the next presidential election if they have it their way. That's why you don't see anybody on the. They're gonna talk about all these people. They're gonna have people have to run, but the candidates are gonna be so weak that people are gonna be like, "Fuck this." At least DeSantis, he's gonna go on and say, "We kept schools open, no mandates. We kept your kids safe," because not every transgender. Like they made it so bitter on the left that a lot of Democrats are like, what the fuck is this?
Oh man, don't call them the left, man. Fuck those people. They're not leftists, man.
But whatever. Whoever we call them the left, far.
I know what you're saying.
They don't have a name. We've come to associate them with the left, right? That they're gonna put because those people are gonna. They don't want to vote for. They're not gonna vote for Trump, but DeSantis is gonna be the guy, right? These things take years to develop and massage your brain to behave a certain way. So if they're gonna do it, I think DeSantis is gonna be the favorite. But Trump has definitely got his thing because he can come out and throw a, as a last thing, just come out and let it all, sort of let it all out. Right? He's only got one shot. It's like a Hail Mary and just let it rip, Well, so anyways, you got to go pick up your kid. This is a fun conversation.
It was fun, man. I can't wait to listen and play it back, even though Zoom is like surveilling our conversation and cutting us out.
And by the way, Zoom went public on April 18th, 2019. Right before, like this, like 6-7 months before COVID.
That's just crazy as hell, man.
And if you know that, and you know people are going to be locked up, and they're going to be going on Zoom to be able to communicate, then what better way to steal state secrets from these companies? Because they don't care, they need to communicate. Unsecure, and a lot of this data was routing through China. All this, what we do, it passes through servers in China for Zoom.
I don't know. This is odd, man. Look, it froze again. It froze again. Dude, it's crazy. It froze again on us. This is insane.
All right.
Beautiful people. I think we're going to have to go because
they won't let us talk.
This is ridiculous. Like there's no way that this is just merely coincidental. I believe there's something to it. Just very key moments and key words that you say, and then it just drops off, and it freezes, and my screen kind of like it almost like takes a picture before it does it. Like there's some kind of a weird thing with the screen.
Oh, that's a good way to say, yeah.
I don't know what the hell is going on, but anyway, there must be something going on. It's exciting. It adds excitement to the conversation.
I'm surprised they didn't censor us when we're talking about the election. So maybe there was a surprise that, they just say, hey, let them talk because it's going to be something that we can think of. Now I'm going to be waiting for that. And maybe that'll be a conversation for another time.
Yes, I can't wait for our next conversation. Benny, I'm going to link your Popana.com website into the episode description. I want to say thank you again.
Or you can go on Amazon. I think Amazon would be a better way.
Go to Amazon? Okay, I'll do that.
Amazon and type in Popana.
Okay. I'll put that in the description, but I wish we could talk longer, but beautiful people, I have to go somewhere. But this was a wonderful episode 44 with Ben Sedaghatfar, a good friend of mine. We grew up together, went to high school together. And I just want to say have a great day. Tomorrow we have Jasmine Sherman joining the forum to discuss their presidential candidacy for 2024. And we're going to learn about some of the views coming from Sherman's campaign. But beautiful people, have a great day, and we will talk soon. Enjoy and take care of yourselves. Cheers.
All right, guys. Bye-bye.